X Factor. That's something I don't even think we've talked about. This show is really just kind of gone.
Yeah, we've
Like,
just been
we've just been
wild.
talking.
D-Lo and Casey Maney have been running wild for the past 3 hours.
What's the biggest X factor in this series? Either team, but what's that ultimate thing that if it falls into place, it could sway things one way or the other?
I think for Kings, it's pretty simple. Domantas Sabonis cannot get in foul trouble. If he gets in foul trouble, the whole thing can come undone pretty quickly. If he can avoid foul trouble and give you an honest 36 to 40 minutes every night, the Kings are going to be really tough. So that would be one X factor. I'd say the X factor, if we're going to look at the Warriors, it's probably going to be how do they deal with Sabonis? Can Looney defend him straight up? Because he's done a great job against Sabonis in the past. And that's not a great matchup for the Kings. I don't know why, but Looney is so strong and so tough that he's really played well. And so I think it really does, like, a lot of things hinge around that matchup in the middle, because who do the Warriors have backing up Looney? Like, if Looney gets in foul trouble, like, Sabonis is just going to run through those guys. I know Draymond Green is there, but I mean, Sabonis is much bigger than Draymond Green, and sure, like, he'll cause a little bit of trouble here and there, but like that's not a matchup you want if you're the Warriors.
No, it'd be great if this was the moment the officials just got together and say, "Yeah, we're not taking his crap this series."
Yeah.
Long shot, but it would be amazing.
It would be excellent if they made that pact. Domas gonna kill the Warriors. Looney, Draymond, everybody included. Like, he's going to eat. The biggest X factor for me, or one of them, is, and I was thinking about this for the Kings at least, is you have to win pretty much all the minutes Steph isn't on the floor. Steph isn't on the floor, you got to win all of those minutes. All of them. Mm-hmm. Like, goes back to the game when we were there earlier this year and the Warriors were up 11 or whatever. Steph goes to the bench. I was like, they have to make the move now if they're going to win. Mm-hmm. And they did. They got to like 4 or 5 or something like that. But that's there. And there's, pressure to that to a certain degree. Like, all right, Steph, we have to make our move now. Not that you're going to lose all the minutes with Steph on there, but you can't when Steph has gone in say game 1, when Steph is off the floor, you're outscored by 10 or something like that. I don't think you have a shot at winning if you let that happen in these games. Kerr's also he's not going to do the most with Curry's minutes. He stayed pretty consistent even in the playoffs with keeping him on a certain rotation. So you're going to get those minutes with Steph out. You got to be able to win them.
You bring that up, it makes me think the other X factor, it might realistically be De'Aaron Fox's defense on Steph. Like, if he comes to play and he takes his game to the next level, like he takes on the responsibility of being the defensive guy that he can be, he's the one guy that can chase Steph and stay with him. Like, Davion Mitchell, I have a lot of confidence in Davion's ability to defend Jordan Clarkson. I mean, not Jordan Clarkson, Jordan Poole. Yeah, so like that's going to be, for me, that's going to be a fun matchup, and it could be like 1 or 2 games hinge on whether or not Poole gets hot, right? But I don't like Davion Mitchell against Steph because he's not a great off-ball defender as far as Davion. Like, he gets lost in the shuffle. Chasing a guy isn't something he's built for. He likes to have the guy in front of him and play defense man-to-man. And so I think that there's some struggle there. So if Fox is going to play huge minutes, which I think he will, he's got to be excellent defensively. And like, he's got to give it everything he's got every single possession and try to stop Steph from having one of those games where you have to change your entire defense to try to slow him, because that's when the Warriors just smoke you. Like, when you have to shift and like take 2 guys, 3 guys, and start throwing them at Steph to slow him down, that's when Clay busts you for 30 points and you start getting pick and roll action and all the things that the Kings have had struggles with before.
If they're ever all on the floor at the same time, I would, and like Fox is out, I would really look at, even if Fox is on, to be honest with you, I would look at Davion on Jordan Poole, and I'd put Kessler Edwards on Steph Curry for
Mm.
some time. That's a
Yeah.
guy that you're not really looking to do a whole lot offensively. He can commit all his energy to defense, kind of what the Warriors feel probably with Gary Payton II. You could use Kessler Edwards in that role. Just, hey, just go defend. Anything you give us offensively is an extra, but we want you to chase Steph Curry around and just try to bother him as much as possible.
Yeah, I
What
think the
about
Kings are gonna have all kinds of different things that they throw at Steph. I mean, that's what we're gonna. Mike Brown is a defensive genius. He has been for years. The fact that the Kings weren't good defensively this year, I mean, it's a mystery to everybody how they weren't able to pick up concepts and how they got worse as the season went on. But in a 7 game series, like he's going to make adjustments. He's going to have ways to slow down Steph. And like whether it works 100% of the time, maybe not. But like you can't let Klay Thompson like get going. Because if you let Klay get going, it's just a long night of chasing your tail. And I don't think there's any way that you'll knock this team off if it's both of those guys going.
Hmm.
and that? But you bring his name up. That brings me to the guy who I was thinking could be an X factor in all of this, and that's Mike Brown. And we know that we saw, for those who are old enough to remember, Ime Udoka as the Celtics head coach. Like he worked really hard to take Draymond Green out of the game, and just he like Draymond Green was useless
Mhm.
for 4.5 games, 5 games last year in the NBA Finals. Mike knows what Draymond does well, and more importantly, he knows what Draymond doesn't do well, and his ability to exploit that could be a major factor in all of this. Of course, we read Draymond's numbers. Now they're not as flashy as what Steph Curry has done against the Sacramento Kings this year, but like he's had, especially like in context of a Draymond Green game,
Mm.
he's had big games against the Sacramento Kings this season. So that feels like it could be a really important part of this thing too.
Yeah, I think that there are a lot of different. I mean, if you look at the team, the Kings as a whole, like there's never a point where you really don't have 5 scorers on the floor. And that means that everybody has to play defense. And there are times when, again, Looney and Draymond aren't great scorers. So you can shift your defense a little bit to try to take away some of the perimeter action against the Warriors, where the Kings, you can't really do that. You've got the best downhill runner in the NBA and Fox. You've got one of the, a beast in the middle that is not only a great passer, but a really, really strong scorer when he needs to be. And then you have shooters at every position. You cannot leave a single one of the Kings like by himself. If you want to shift and have, Steph Curry defend Kevin Herter for a huge portion of the game, or even have him shift and go against Keegan Murray. Man, Keegan Murray can go in the post and score. And Keegan Murray can bust you from the perimeter. And Kevin Herter, he can hit from the three. He can also get in the key. I mean, he's in the top 20 in the NBA in 2-point field goal percentage. Like, this is a guy who knows how to score. And there isn't one player on the Kings that you can just say, okay, that guy's not going to do anything. Even when you get to the second team, and it's just, if it's just 3 guys, if it's just Davion and Monk and Trey Lyles, like 2 of those guys can really put it up. Like Trey Lyles, if he can find his shooting stroke, his shoulder's been funky, but I think outside of the final game, the previous 2 games, he'd really started to find his rhythm again. And Monk is like a huge piece to what the Kings do. He's basically their like a watered down version of Jordan Poole. He just doesn't have the same opportunity that Poole has, but like I think there are a lot of really, really interesting matchups for the Kings. Even, if they're going DiVincenzo in the starting lineup, like you got to defend DiVincenzo, but you don't have to defend DiVincenzo like you have to defend Kevin Herter.
Mm.
Like just like the 3-point shooting wise, they're not in the same category. Although I'm sure Dante's had a really good season. And he's going to make himself a lot of money, and he's more versatile, and he's a better rebounder, and he's a better defender than Herter. But on the offensive end, like you have to defend all 5 Kings, and that is not always the case with the Warriors.